Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Pratibha, and today I want to talk about self-expression. What if I tell you that manifestation isn't about attracting more? What if I tell you that it's about embodying the version that you desire, expressing more of yourself so you attract the things that you want? Because that's what I have learned the hard way. You cannot manifest a bigger life for yourself while showing up as this smaller version of yourself in everyday life. And that was me for a long time. I was doing the work though. I was reading about manifestation, law of attraction, reflecting on my life, journaling about my emotions and whatnot. I was trying to regulate my nervous system, learning about alignment, and trying to shift my mindset. I was doing all of that. I was intellectualizing all of these concepts. And because of that, I felt internally expanded, more aware, more self aware. But in everyday life, I was still shrinking. I would soften my opinions. I would not tell my opinion. And I would filter my truth all the time. I would, just agree to something before I even check in with myself. And I would over explain things so no one misunderstood me. I would say it's fine when it really wasn't. So all of these small filters and edits that created a contrast between my inner self and the outer self. And that's misalignment. When you're misaligned, your manifestation is going to take a long time because it's not matching the frequency of the desire. You're not embodying the version that you want still. So when I was displaying such, behavior, people pleasing behavior, I was constantly monitoring myself. I would check my tone. I would, make sure that everyone else is comfortable. And so that I just take the easy route and, low maintenance, and I just agree to everything and maintain peace. This was how I was before realizing the misalignment. And that's not expansion. I wasn't feeling expanded, even though I was internally conceptualizing all of these things. I wasn't embodying that. So the universe responds to who you show up consistently, not to the version of yourself that you visualize occasionally. So if your body constantly tells you it's okay to play small, act small, that becomes your identity, and that identity drives everything around you. When I started expressing myself more, I started to see the shift happening. I became clear in who I was. Sometimes it was as simple as saying, I see it differently, or I need some time before I decide anything, or not just over explain my decisions. And yes, every time I do not agree to something, my heart would race, or I would feel weird to not to agree to something. So that honesty feels strange. That honesty feels dangerous even, because it would make you the odd one out because you are not very easily agreeable. And sometimes it feels like you are risking a connection because you are being honest about what you want. As I practiced more of that authenticity, when I started expressing myself honestly, I felt steadier. Like I wasn't quietly betraying myself in any invisible ways anymore. When you stop abandoning yourself, abandoning your truth, your nervous system is going to adapt to it. So you're going to be okay with perceived in a certain way because you no longer care about how people perceive you for expressing your truth. And that authenticity is the highest vibration. You honestly attract anything that you want. Authenticity is very powerful. It transforms you as a whole. It changes your posture, it changes the way you walk, it changes the way you approach things. You become very confident naturally because you don't have anything to hide. because you are operating from a place of truth. So it kind of gives you this confidence that is unshakable. And you feel solid. You have this sense of self that is powerful. And that is expanded consciousness, because you are very aware of who you are and you are expressing yourself from a place of truth. And that is magnetic. So, self expression, it removes this internal war, the conflict between the inner world and the outer world. And it expands our consciousness. So, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions line up, you stop fighting yourself. You are not self sabotaging anymore, because you handle the discomfort of being truthful. You handled it. Your nervous system adapted. So you don't carry that weight. So when you don't have that weight, you feel integrated, whole. That makes you super magnetic to things that you truly want. That is where manifestation happens. It's all about embodiment of the energy, the desired frequency. When you're integrated, your decisions shift. You stop over chasing, you stop over proving, you stop tolerating things that slowly drain you. So you think clearly, you choose clearly, you walk away clearly. And that clarity, no, that changes everything, that changes the outcomes. Not because you convince the universe that you're worthy of receiving, but you stopped fragmenting yourself, you stopped filtering yourself, you stopped shrinking yourself. That is all about being magnetic. And honestly, it's all about alignment, the coherence of your emotions, thoughts, actions, behaviors. So, self expression does not mean you become rigid. It doesn't mean you have to turn every situation into my perspective, my truth. This is who I am and I won't bend. And that is not self expression, that is ego. And for example, when you happen to work in an environment that requires you to work along with other people in a team, in a group, collaboration matters. There are moments where your personal preferences isn't the priority. We have to think about the bigger picture perspective. So this has been a constant challenge for me, because I have been learning to discern, to differentiate between healthy flexibility and quiet self-erasure. I didn't want to agree to every single thing. At the same time, I don't want to not be flexible. Because when I think about the bigger picture, when I think about the outcome, that's what matters in my head. So I'm willing to, I'm willing to compromise. So I think self expression takes different shapes in different environments. All I'm saying is that when something is making you filter your truth all the time, you just have to ask the question if it's really helping you. Because if you're shrinking yourself constantly, you might lose yourself. And I honestly think discernment is the most important skill when it comes to personal growth. Learn the skill, practice the skill, so you actually, transform, transcend. So let me come back to self expression and how it connects to the consciousness. Because self expression expands our consciousness. Self expression with awareness is wisdom. So it's important that we pause and ask ourselves, why am I saying yes to this right now? Am I really doing this for the greater good? Because manifestation doesn't respond to the performance, it responds to the identity. And our identity is built through the repeated choices that we make in our life. So every time you choose clarity over fear or doubt, your sense of self strengthens. And when your sense of self strengthens, your life reorganizes around it. If you feel stuck, do not go and try new manifestation technique. Just pause and ask yourself, where am I editing myself in life that is stopping me from reaching my desires? That's the real question that you have to ask. Confront that contrast between your inner self and the outer self, and express yourself in ways that you're supposed to, that you feel called to, whether it's writing, whether it's speaking up, whether it's, dancing, expressing through arts, in whatever form that you want to express yourself. So the real key is to understand the contrast between your inner self and the outer self, and bridging that gap by learning to express yourself through any forms that you feel called to. Express yourself, and also express yourself depending on the time and place and bigger picture perspective of things. So that is all I have for you today. See you all in another video. Bye.